The time being 6:05, I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Osterville Village Association. First off, Secretary's report. Does anyone have any questions on the Secretary's report? Seeing none, could I make a motion, get a motion to approve the Secretary's report? In a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. I don't see Al here tonight. We'll skip the treasurer's report. Next on the agenda is, a vote. We have to have Gail Nightingale be elected as an OBA board member.
I thought I was gonna get off.
Just when you thought it was over, right? Whether you like it or not. And I'm not sure, maybe John, if you could refer to you in terms of just a motion to.
Yeah, I'll move to add, well, actually, once somebody else is on the town.
Okay.
Everybody can do that.
Yeah, I move that we ask Gail to be a member. I always thought you were. Even though you always sit out there, I always thought you were an OBA board member.
I was.
I nominate Gail to be a board member of the Osterville Village Association.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Gail. Which is the furthest one out. That's where we need to fill one.
Thank you.
And next is the OBPA report, Cindy Cotton.
So today, as most of you know, we held our meeting, the annual meeting at the Reno Club at 8 o'clock in the Seaview Room. We were honored to have Mark Ells, the Barnstable Town Manager, as our guest speaker. He provided updates on a range of issues from the town of Barnstable. We're grateful for his time and his continued attention to our community concerns. During the meeting, elections for the OBPA members' steering committees were conducted. We are pleased with the strength of leadership and commitment among those stepping into important roles. And Gail Nightingale was recognized for her decades of dedicated service to the village of Osterville. Mr. Chuck Sabat introduced this year's recipient of the OBPA scholarship. Chosen Sunbell of Osterville was the winner. He was unable to make it due to graduation rehearsal, but his family came and expressed his appreciation for the scholarship award. We extend our thanks to Chuck for once again leading the scholarship committee. Looking ahead, planning is underway for our annual Village Day, which will be held on July 19th. The parade will be at 1 p.m. This year's theme is Garden Party. We are also excited to announce the summer cocktail party featuring the steel drum music, and Rava will be here on the Calvin C. Gould Library Green under the tent from 5 to 7 on July 23rd. Invitations will be going out to OBPA members and their guests. On a personal note, I am deeply humbled to step into this role so capably held by Gail for decades, and I'm grateful for the trust the community has placed in me as I carry forward this meaningful work. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's one thing. As you said, as you know, Cindy just said, they recognized me this morning at the meeting. But I also want to thank OBA very much for your recognition of a dog that's going to be placed up on the Chestnut lawn, green there. And my dog is very happy to be represented. I just want to thank you and all your nice comments. I was very surprised at everything they gave me this morning, and I didn't have a chance to really sit down and read everything over till I got home, but I thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Well deserved.
Yes.
Okay, John, town council report.
Yeah, the two ad hoc committees that have just finished their work, one is on housing in the town of Barnstable, and the other one is on zoning and regulatory issues. They both finished their work and sent their work product to the planning board for them to take a look at, and then they'll come to the council. Both these committees were well put together, well run, and there are two issues that are extremely important here in town. And it was interesting that both of the committees come up with some of the same recommendations. which was good to see, that there was, ideas about how we could do better both for housing and change a little bit of what's going down on downtown. The zoning is going to be difficult because it needs a 2/3 vote of the council to change, but, some of the recommendations out of the zoning committee were that, instead of 4 stories in downtown Hyannis, we moved it to 3 to 3.5. We thought that was a better idea, and also some of the outlying areas that are in Hyannis, were of the same, density and height that the downtown is. So to move out of the actual downtown Main Street district, some of the districts that are right close, we wanted to see a drop down in heights a little bit, so it wouldn't be one huge block of big buildings. So that was part of it, and also we recommended that they have more parking downtown when they put these buildings up. The town had originally recommended that there be 1 parking spot per bedroom. And that usually doesn't work out for, obviously you probably have 2 cars for every bedroom there, or 1.5. So we addressed that up to about 1.5 to 2 with the council to take a look at. I think it's important because we also have to look at our parking down here in Osterville. Like one of the things we have is very, we're already dense here as for the amount of units that we have surrounding the village, and so, and there's not a lot of extra parking to come downtown, especially if somebody's hard to find. So if, one of the proposals as far as the housing that was part of the long range comprehensive plan is they wanted to have they called for the document to redevelop our villages into 3 stories in that area, and also within a half mile of the village, all villages, not just some, that would have multifamily by right. So that would mean, any from here within a half mile, say, of the flagpole that goes halfway or 3/4 way down Bay Street, 3/4 of the way or a long way up Main Street coming in from the village and all the way down Parker and all those other things. We thought that would be detrimental to our village in that way. And so those were both taken. This was a plan that was put forward by the former planning director with doing a lot of work with the Cape Cod Commission. And they really didn't take much time to listen to what the public wanted. So I think those are the 2 biggest things that we had taken out that we didn't want to see it. I don't know anybody who's been calling for redeveloping our villages, making it much denser with housing without more parking. That's what they were exactly after. So we spent a year trying to come up with that document. It's actually much more amenable to what we're trying to do in the town. Yeah. What else do I have? The draft housing production plan, which had been around the town for probably a 1.5 to 2 years, been sitting in a drawer. They came out, the town came up with a former planning director and with advice from the Cape Cod Commission, was also asking for some of these high density issues, high density things. And that's another thing that when it came to the council, we basically took a look at and go back to the drawing board. And that had been in the works for a number of years through the planning department. And prior to my election, and a lot of us had worked on that document, trying to make it more reasonable. And so that's what we came out with. It came out with an actual plan to develop more affordable housing units. Instead of what we're having now, which is more market rate units. And I think at some point, they're gonna have a glut of those units in town, because most of them are not affordable. Anybody lives here. Also just wanted to thank Gail for all the years, and she's going nowhere. Obviously, we're not gonna let her. But with all her work at the OPPA and everything you see go on in town, as you all know, the things that she put together and coordinated for more years than I was here for, I can't remember, the Village Days, Chocolate Fest, and Christmas Stroll. That takes a lot of work, and luckily Cindy has taken over the job. Cindy Cotton sitting right next to her, so, and she's we know her to be somebody who will be able to fill her shoes, and that's supposed to skin. And we're looking to go forward to her to help us out here in the village. So, Gail, Thank you for everything you've done, and, we very much appreciate it, village appreciates it. I just want you all to think, lastly, is that whether we're people like Gail, two other people, that spend a lot of their time looking at this, we would have some of these things that they're talking about. And I don't, people come from all over the country, and it's a very desirable place to live in Cape. And that goes back to the fact that a number of people, including the Osterville Village Association, the Osterville Business Professional Association, they work very hard to people we have here, which is unique. And once you lose it, it's not going to be something you can put back in the bottle. I grew up in a place in Connecticut, reminded me exactly of this 50, 60 years ago in Wilton. You all know where Wilton is. And it doesn't look like that. Just totally overgrown, and take your life in their hands going downtown and get a cup of coffee. So what we have, we should be proud of ourselves to differentiate ourselves from other towns on the Cape and other places in the country. That this is a really desirable place to live and to bring up a family, and that takes volunteers like Gail, who've done this for so many years and kept an eye.
And good committees that work under me,
It's
not just me.
So thank you, Gail, and I'll hand it back to Pete. Unless you have any questions here. Go ahead.
When you were talking about parking in Hyannis, did they think about parking garages like they did at the Cape Cod 5 out on 132, or something similar to that, maybe in downtown Hyannis?
I've not heard any word of people planning to do so, but I would imagine it'll be necessary. At
I
some
mean,
point.
that's kind of
at some point
like a level and a half, because they kind of submerged it and doesn't look bad.
It doesn't look bad, but most of the plans we're seeing they do include parking. And some of them have it underneath, but that would be a way to alleviate some. Some of them are getting, passed through, and they're getting with very few parking spots, and you gotta worry about being a merchant downtown. When people are working during the week, so that's one thing, when they come home, park both cars in that area, okay? They've only got one spot for a unit, you got two cars, that's gonna be somewhere on Main Street, that's gonna prevent people from shopping.
No parking for the people working at it.
Exactly, so, whatever, that's, I think that would be something that should go in the future about these plans. Great, Jim.
Sorry to be a little bit late, but if you're coming from Hyannis where there is a parking problem, so I had to walk a long distance from my car. Anyway, I wanted to ask you, are you in the middle of your conference report right now, or?
Yeah.
Okay, so someone had told me that, that the town spent a significant amount of money to study whether or not the town should buy Baxter's Boathouse.
Yes.
And, I don't know, they paid a consultant, I think 6 figures, maybe more, I don't know what
I
they,
think it's $160,000.
how much?
$160,000.
Okay, I could have answered the question for about 1,000.
Yes.
But is the town, so that was one thing, and the second, is the town actually gonna buy Baxter's Boathouse?
Not at this point.
Good, yeah. Okay.
What they. Yeah.
What's that?
Yeah.
What would your $1,000 recommendation?
My recommendation would be not to buy it. I think it's a crazy idea. Why would we ever wanna own? Why would a public enterprise ever wanna own Baxter's Boathouse?
You wouldn't be operating it.
We wouldn't be running a restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay, it was something that the town decided to go forward after taking a look at it. They're looking at the structures and the grounds and everything.
Yeah.
Viability. But it's mostly for the land. And there's another piece of land very close to it that the town does. It's right on the end of that little road that comes down.
Right.
And the idea is someday that this might be something that could be developed in a way that puts a little bit more focus on our waterfront, which is, I think this is one of the few waterfronts I know in New England that hasn't been taken advantage of in any way as for getting people down there. It's more commercial than anything else. Now, I'm not saying it's good idea. One thing we'll not be doing is running a restaurant. Okay, but it's an idea that we want, well, I'm not saying I want, but I'm saying in general, the idea from some of the councils was that this could be something that in the future,
Yeah.
that a project could be put down there, like Hyannis, I guess, has a fish market that's right on the water there.
Mhm.
Okay, and they bring a lot of people in town, boats come in and drop the fish off. And maybe that's something they could do, or actually have a developer build something that's useful in that respect, not just for a fish market, but other things on that property, on our two properties there. So the idea was that this is something that we should look at and maybe not so quickly pass up as a valuable piece for down the road, that the town would have a developer develop.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be us doing anything in that respect. It just has that, this could be something that's valuable, for bringing people down to the waterfront in Hyannis. And we're gonna just take a look at it. So I understand it always amazes me how everything in this state costs 4 times what it's supposed to cost everywhere else. Because we live in a state.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for that.
Yeah.
And.
Yeah. So that's why.
Yeah. If the town did buy it, what's the rumored purchase price?
That has not been come up. I understand they want a certain amount, but I think
What's that amount?
well, they're asking for something from the town, but they can't get it from anybody else that's been on the market for
Right,
that.
so what are they asking from the town?
At this point, I don't know the figure, but I think it's somewhere around 8 or 9 million, but it's not,
No, it's a lot more than that. It was more like 18 million.
well, that's the sort of figure that I heard banded around, nothing official.
And it's not a
But
million
it's not
or
something,
1,000.
somebody, I believe the town's going to buy it for any of that price. Okay, it's not a viable, perfect, it's been on the market for quite a while, okay, so they're not getting people at the price they want. So if it came up, I think there'd be, a lot of discussion on what the property is actually worth and what it is worth. So we're not gonna sit here and say, let's go into
Yeah.
go into that, we're not gonna do it.
And you sort of have to fit those decisions in, I'll my one other comment. You gotta kind of fit those decisions into the larger framework of what it is that you need to accomplish as a municipality.
Yeah.
You know, and what I'm thinking about is, we have an enormous, almost unmanageable expense in terms of sewering the town of Barnstable, which we're continually told we need to do, otherwise we're gonna be sued by some amorphous group that I've never heard of, but in any event. If that in fact is a necessary priority, we have to devote really almost every penny that we have to that. And that unfortunately, I think, you have to really put that forward as the major priority for the town of Marshall looking ahead. And that, I think, mandates that these other types of projects, and I understand now, obviously, yeah, you want to preserve the waterfront, you want to develop the waterfront. It's important, but you have all these other imperatives that you need to meet, and that's the big overriding. And
There are others.
that bill is gargantuan now, and it's gonna only get bigger.
And there are big bills coming for the renovation of the various 14 properties owned by the school system.
Right.
There's no roof at the high school, for example. So
Right.
that's another big pending expenditure for the town.
And that's where the majority of our tax money goes.
Yeah.
Right now.
60%.
And Chuck, I think just super quick, I think I took a peek at the Hyannis Village plan from the last planning cycle, just to sort of see what they had inventory. I'm pretty sure that that village had identified something to do with developing waterfront in a constructive, productive, economic way. So I don't think this came from like sort of out of the blue that specific property might have, but I think that's been sort of just in the work. Not that I don't have a view on it, because I don't think y'all know enough yet.
No, you don't, and there was a 2 or 3 councils that have been around a long time that said, this is something we should really look at, because it could be possible.
Yeah.
In the future, so we went along and thought that we should do a due diligence at least on it, to find out what the possibilities are. It may be pie in the sky, and, there's no question, especially in starting at 2027, I think, Hector is, they're gonna be starting talking about overrides again for the sewer, and if they're okay until that point, and then, so there's a lot of things going on here. In fact, one of the things that along the line they were talking about, maybe, having a transfer tax on property transfers over a certain $1 million level, whatever it is. And, I've sort of argued against that considering what's coming up. I think you get to the point where, we'll say anybody's house over $1 million, $2 million. We tax at a certain rate, okay, and I think that's a bad idea. First, it's your, for it to go up in this medium town. And, the people who own the houses that are on the upper end, not that $1 million is on the upper ends and you're in Osterville.
Yeah.
But gonna be saying, well, geez, this is our taxes are going up for this amount this year, and then they're gonna put this extra on it, and then they're gonna want 2.5 over. I think it's too much at this point. So we have to figure out what our priorities on that, so.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Excellent report. Whole business, first thing, the reminder that there's be no July meeting here. The annual meeting is about 7 p.m. on Wednesday, August 13th. Also on the old business, at the meeting this morning, Mark Ells brought it up regarding the traffic issues and the speeding issues in Osterville. I made some comments on it. We do have somebody from the Barnstable PD here tonight. I'm gonna wait until public. And we can open it up for that, but it's an ongoing problem. I think it's the #1 issue in town. That's why some of the people are here tonight. So, we're just gonna discuss new business briefly, and then we'll have Marcos be available for questions. Under new business, website development, vote on approval of funds to proceed. Cindy, do you want to explain a little bit on what's,
Sure.
Find the OBA and OBPA website, but
Yeah.
Cindy's taken the lead on this, and
Well, both kind of websites are good, but they're not up to date, and they could be a lot more vital in providing people in the community with better information. So looking to combine it in a Chamber of Commerce style website, which will have pictures the front of Osterville, and then have like dining services, businesses, have like the brochure, the guidebook, and have information. Each member business would get its own page with a description. And that would be a member area, there'd be the OBP section, there'd be OVA, when the meetings are, all the YouTube recordings. So everybody would have one place in a professionally maintained, secure area, because in 2026, I believe all websites will have to be ADA compliant. And that's something that everybody would have to do anyway. So it just will bring us really into the future and hopefully provide a lot of cross information for both people to keep everybody up to date, become involved, shop in the village, learn about the village, and because all the stuff going on here, the traffic and working on the bridge to Oyster Harbors and speed bumps affect businesses, and if they don't know about it, people want to know about the new shops that are opening and what they can get and things like that. So I think we're together as a committee and organization anyway, we might as well be at the website.
that's excellent. Cindy, what, the cost on this for the total price is 7,500.
It's around 75.
Okay, and are we splitting that, or what's the?
Well. In a perfect world,
I think OVA should pay more of it because we're a subcommittee of OVA. And we don't have that kind of money in OVA, so.
well, it's a half now and half when it's done. So we need to
Okay.
get on the calendar now so we can get things rolling in the fall.
Yeah.
And then it would be the other half done there that we can figure out where we're at and everything, because I don't fully up to speed yet.
Could we vote? Oh, I'm sorry. go
Does
ahead.
it include ongoing maintenance?
There would be yearly maintenance that, we could take care of. There is updates and all the app updates and all that go along with it.
Yeah. it's proposals.
Peter, I'm a little bit concerned, about becoming a one-liner, the conflict, website. And, our website now is pretty neat when you see it in Google, which I do upon occasion, and you get OVA. There's gonna be a big difference. Like I look up at the Osterville Men's Club a lot. And I'm very concerned that we're gonna become a one-liner in 12 lines, and we're gonna go backwards. I like the idea of the big thing, but I don't like the idea of losing our identity of being what we are, so I'm concerned.
Well, I don't know much, so I shouldn't say,
Go ahead.
but, I don't know if you couldn't have sort of both worlds, right? Like I looked at the West Barnstable Civic Association website, really nicely done. It's exactly what you just said, right? It's got, here are the meetings, here are the agendas, here. It's everything you want, nicely organized. The OBA site has gotten a little bit of a, like, not kept up. So I agree that you want everything kind of spelled out, but maybe it doesn't have to be just a one liner.
But it's not gonna be one,
Right.
it's gonna have the complete information that it has now on the OVA side and hopefully more. You know, all the videos will be uploaded of all the meetings. You know, you could have the section for the minutes and. It is one it truly is the OVA, the OVPA is a subcommittee of OVA.
Right.
So to be together makes,
Total sense.
instead of two people paying for two websites that neither one of them are being tended to.
I understand your concerns, Bill. I think the way it's set up, what I understand, it'll be a better site, again, it won't be confusing in terms of the. Cindy, question on, we need a vote tonight on, or do we need a vote tonight to appropriate funds, or is that something that we don't have to figure yet? What's required by the,
A half deposit, if you could vote on a half deposit now, that would be great.
okay, and to be, the final figure to be.
Determined.
Okay. Any discussion on this?
I'm kind of wondering if it would behoove us to take a look at the Cole Web Dev examples you've listed here. Eastham Chamber,
The
well,
Wellfleet one is the one that's
yeah,
kind of be like the similar.
I think it would help. Wellfleet's similar, it would give us a really good idea of the modernization that I believe is badly needed. And I think will really behoove our village to upgrade to what you're talking about. And if it's a subcommittee of this group, I don't know what the issue would be. I think it would make a lot of sense.
And the other thing, to your point, if you have the domain OVA today, I think that's what you use, that could be redirected to the pages of OVA in the website. Where Osterville Village would go to the front page, the OVA today could go directly to the OVA section.
No,
Can you just sort of back up? Just is the website, the OVA website, the OVPA, or is it Osterville?
It'll be ostervillevillage.com under that, but with the old domain could point to the pages of OVA to help with what Bill's suggesting.
As an umbrella, it's Osterville Village.
Yes.
And then there'll be a section that's OVPA.
OVPA, OVA.
Just looking at the cost, it's, is that to set it up to 7,300? And then there's a yearly maintenance of
About $1,000 round numbers.
okay, for a yearly maintenance.
That's for hosting,
Hosting, maintenance, you upload the plugins.
and do they do updates?
We could probably do the
You could
updates.
do
We
the
have a
updates.
WordPress. We just did our website over here.
Yeah,
Around the same amount of money. There's an active event calendar where the merchants and members can go in and update, put in, you know, trunk shows, special things like that they're having. Jobs can be listed on there. It's, you know, we could eventually sell advertising on there, and if somebody had a special house or thing that they were
Right.
doing. You know, we could promote property that's for rent in the village to other merchants instead of having it go to, you know, real estate and others.
Cindy, did you say that this website, the OVA website, would be able to sell advertising?
At some point, not immediately, but that could be a revenue generator to down the line, yes.
Do we know that some of these other websites, Wellfleet and so forth, sell ads?
I do believe some of them do.
I don't think we should minimize the need for ADA compliance either.
Well, that's the law. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no two ways around it.
What ADA
Americans with Disability Act.
is it?
Oh, it's got, all your pictures need to have all text under them, so if somebody puts, and they can't see, it'll read to them what the pictures are. It's like ours has, you know, all the text enlargers and different colors for different neurodiversity needs.
But won't any company already have that? Like we use Shopify, that automatically happens. Cause you have it.
Yeah, if it's,
So whatever company you're using should already have that. We shouldn't be paying extra, I guess, for that. Because it
you
should
know,
already
like
have.
somebody's got an older website, it's not automatically gonna update. If you've got a, you know,
No, I'm just saying the company we're going with should already have it built in.
right,
Right.
Yeah.
So we're not paying extra.
right, no,
Okay.
yeah. I'm just saying we don't have it now.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Sure.
So just for consideration, since everybody has a chance to read the proposal, maybe I can email you or something and we can take a vote later on. Like that, you can't make a decision tonight, if you want to absorb it a little bit.
Yeah, there is some hesitation, like Bill's asking questions on that, they actually view some of the websites. And Cindy, is that something how, you do have a little bit of time to,
Yeah, whatever, I mean, you know,
I mean, would everyone feel more comfortable with that as far as to review?
I'd like to review what their work,
And they're great, but
Yeah.
yes, everyone should have a chance to look at that, because we just introduced tonight. Is that something we could take a vote by, you know? Yeah.
One added concern I have, is that, is your committee, and we're paying $7,500, human nature being human nature. If your entity develops it, I don't like the position we're in.
okay,
So there's answers to that. And you ought to be able to figure that out so that we feel more comfortable. I mean, if here goes 7,500, you people are putting it together, and we're the mother, entity, so something's not right. So you gotta be able to figure that out, I think that should be figured out before we get to 7,500.
But it wouldn't be, there'd be a split there, if it was bad, and there'd be a split, no, we wouldn't be paying that for.
No, I'm not as much worried about, as the money as the outcome. It's just human nature, ODPA is
Yeah, I understand.
hiring the entity, and it's their committee, and we're providing them the money, and we're the ones that have the opportunity to lose the most. So something doesn't make sense.
Okay.
I don't understand,
Yeah.
what are you, so,
It would actually be more helpful.
yeah, I think the whole thing is to make Osterville Village
Right.
one entity, right? So there's multiple ways websites can be combined. And they don't, and certain departments or certain associations don't lose their identity because they're going into an umbrella. The idea is that Osterville Village, while is the website, it's kind of the umbrella and kind of the mother of the OVA, the OVPA, the men's club, or, you know, where's the retail component to all of this for retailers in the village. So I think, to Cindy's credit, having it all under one roof and not multiple separately maintained websites not only makes it more concise, but it does make it easier for the user and the endpoint to be able to not click a link and have it spit you out to a completely different website. And if everybody acts as two separate entities, then nothing will get done.
You haven't addressed any of my concerns.
I don't understand your concerns, I think. So there's a 75, so let's say so let's say an $8,000 bill total to bring ostervillevillage.com to house OVA and OVPA. So your concern is the OVA should not pay as much?
No, you don't even have the point.
Well, tell me your
tell,
point.
yeah, we don't
I'm trying to make
understand.
it very clear. An entity is putting together the future of the website. They have the committee, they have the people on it, we're paying the money, and we are not having any involvement in the evolution.
She never said there was no
No,
involvement.
you guys,
This is just,
The way it's set up, there isn't.
No, this is, the idea, so the idea to bring two entities together is to collaborate. Collaboration is where consistency will happen, where the schedule of updating a website will happen. So I think maybe the idea is for right now to just move forward with the concept of bringing everything together. How that is designed, how those entities are combined, how they each have their own identity, that's all up to the people on both boards and the website designer.
Bill, how do you think we've had the Zoom meetings and all this other stuff? That's by collaborating with you. I've been doing these things, so making the YouTube videos and doing all that and having it so people can come in by Zoom, so I'm losing,
I guess
obviously, I'm not gonna make up stuff about the OVA, it's gonna be whatever I'm provided with is going to be there.
Everybody's responsible for their own page.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
We're
not,
gonna be a lot more comfortable if you propose that there be a joint committee.
well, it would,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, kind of, some of that, we haven't gotten out of it yet.
Cause I know, I think the person in the back would love to come talk to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion? I think your idea not to vote tonight is on point, because there's questions. I don't wanna form a committee per se, but maybe what we could do is just have a little conversation someday here for an hour or two, or just a handful of people anybody's interested. Cause I think it's probably at the end of the day gonna be about sort of governance, so to speak, and that's bigger word than what I mean. So that everybody's kind of comfortable, and maybe we can sketch out a little bit.
I have a whole navigation and everything.
Like that whole kind of thing, so that we could come back and say, is everyone full?
Yeah, I just wanted to compare those, who pays
And kind of how does it,
Yeah.
kind of sort of look.
And maybe during that meeting, Cindy, you can have a representative zoom in from the company you're using for that's designing the website so that they can address any technical questions that people would have to just kind of help ease, questions and things like that.
That's a great
We'll
point.
just meet downstairs one day, so whoever kind of wants for like an hour or something like that, or two, or whatever, come back.
Oh, that's a good point, Heather. And just in Cindy's defense, I've talked with Cindy off and on, I think starting this winter about combining this. My website is done by Cole. I think it's a great idea. It's not an easy thing to put together. This is the first time that people have seen the actual proposal. I still think it's the way to go. I understand Bill's concerns. We haven't get down to figures and so forth, and this is good we had a discussion tonight, but to meet again, like what Mark was saying, is a great, and get down to either have Cole online or just get the details on that and go from there.
I like the idea of having a joint committee. I used to work on web dev. I'd love to do it. I think it's, every entity needs to update their website eventually and just to, stay with the way things are is not in the interest of the village, I believe. And I think you could really showcase this village so much better with a new website. I'd love to work on it.
Sure.
What?
You
Sorry.
voted.
Am I elected? All right.
I have to say from the consumer perspective, is that both websites are terrible. They need to come together.
Thank you.
And my son and my other son live here and they don't even use them. They can't find them. They can't navigate. There's nothing there.
Thank you.
It should be a one-stop shop, and kind of a mayor, one-stop shop. And also, there's economies of scale. You're gonna have two separate,
Exactly.
it's gonna be $15,000.
Yeah.
I mean, something we could have done. You don't draw people to the big O, Osterville, right?
You got it.
And you can, just like the town of Barnstable, nothing gets lost in the sauce there. If you go to the town of Barnstable, you can see all the different apartments, and it's a similar downsized version. I went on the Wellfleet site that Cindy mentioned as a role model kind of thing. It's excellent.
Yeah.
There you go. It takes you 5 minutes to look at that. You can find everything, all their communities, all their videos, and to Mark's point, for the retailers, it's huge. They can post up their own sales, their own special things. I think it's also as a consumer, get the possibility of getting a revenue positive stream instead of these little small fees we try to collect, the big bills go on. We'll love to jump in on that and put, banner ads up and stuff on that, the business section, not the crowd on the village association section where, so 8% of it.
May I ask a process question, Heather? If we vote online, is that to give Cindy a green light? Is that what we're talking about?
We're gonna meet first, I think,
I
right?
think there should just be a small, I don't want to overstate, just
Yeah.
a meeting. We'll talk about some of these concerns, and I think there's probably a way to satisfy everybody's concerns, right? And then maybe for efficiency, because I think time matters, right?
Yep.
Maybe we can put something out like in writing to say, here's what it looks like. If people are comfortable with that written description and people are comfortable taking a vote in writing, we can do that. If anybody says, no, I really want to talk about this again, maybe we wait, although that would kick us out to August.
Yeah,
But I think the goal should be, let's
let's not waste time.
talk and satisfy everybody's questions and then put something out. Hopefully that satisfies everything and you can move.
Sounds good.
I think be able to make some money on this with advertising is something that's very costly, and I think people were looking for things to do in Osterville from the one site, together, that's really well done. And a lot of merchants will be eager to put something on there. So we're talking 7,500, 8,000, and 1,000 a year. I think we can probably make that up very quickly. If, what do you think, Jen? You're a merchant, you're,
Yeah, I mean, just what you pay in advertising to do one ad, I mean, it's just like, this will pay for itself like
That's right.
so quickly,
Absolutely.
you know?
A lot of people would feel fine about it if you had a goal of it being self-sustaining, right?
Yes, yeah,
So that a bit, maybe it's part of the OBPA membership fee that everybody chips in X number of dollars for the website every year. It could be a very small fee because of the number of businesses we have. And then, the goal would be to have it pay for itself. The initial expense is what we're talking about, getting it up and running, so.
Good point.
Which a website for under 10,000 to combine two very established,
it's incredible.
that's nothing, that's a drop in
Yeah.
the bucket.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
really good
Absolutely.
price.
I can't tell you how many times my wife has complained to me about the website, so, I'm happy to be part of the discussion that Heather is proposing. And I think if we had a few people from both OBA and OBPA to talk about it, I think we could move this forward a lot quicker than August.
Good.
I think it's just a matter of
Here, here.
understanding everybody's views, settling any differences, and trying to.
Yeah, good point.
All right, let's move forward so this gentleman can talk to us.
Thank you. Marcos.
Oh, come on.
I don't know your last name.
No, it's all right. I am Marcus Cunningham with the Barnstable Police Department. Specifically, I'm in our traffic unit, so I'm one of the 3 officers that handles all the complaints. So, you guys, I'll start by saying this, because we're talking about websites, so we specifically made on our website, you go to the top tab and there's a tab for the traffic division. On there, there's a step-by-step process on how you can file, like if there's an issue you see in town, you're like, this is a terrible spot for whatever reason. You can fill out a form and it goes directly to us. So we encourage people, everyone always wants to call, but if you fill out that form online, it goes to our email. And as you can imagine, we have plenty of them, so if we don't get to it right away, it's because we're trying to tackle these as they come. So it's not that we're not doing it, it's just, we get a lot, as you can Is this
imagine.
the police department website?
Yep.
So we start by saying that it's our new way of trying to do this instead of the phone calls, but obviously you can still call in. But that's just kind of the more modern approach we're going with. And if you guys have specific questions, that's why I'm here, to try and answer anything I can.
On that website, what's the estimated turnaround time?
Well, right now it's the summer season, so I think we're getting probably 10, 15, 20 emails a day.
Couple of weeks,
Yeah, well, so
when you hear back, or?
we try and tackle these things quickly. So, throughout the course of the day, whether it's our unit or the actual patrol shift. So we have someone assigned to Osterville every day. So they'll have on their sheet areas where the complaints are. So
they'll get addressed daily, but by our unit specifically, we just kind of go like where we're getting the most complaints and try and get to everywhere.
What's the most common complaint?
Right now, it's speed.
Speeding.
Speed.
You got
It is-
Shutter Avenue in Hyannis,
It
that's where
is.
I live.
It is everywhere. Not just specific to one village.
Right.
It is across the board.
Yeah.
Everywhere, but it's that time of the year. More people driving around, so. Yes, sir.
I will say, I had some libraries today, a number of people came to talk about it. One of the things that was right on top of the list, is four-way stop right here at Miller Village. Lots of roll throughs, and not only roll through, but just completely ignoring it. And that is, the highest traffic areas, probably in the village. And if people are not stopping at the time, it's
Yeah.
big problem. So I don't think I down the road.
I know, like complaints we've gotten in the past specifically is Main Street. And there's a lot of,
Main Street,
vehicles
yeah.
about commercial, or complaints about commercial vehicles. We get that a lot.
It's a lot of the trucks that come over the bridge, it's not,
Yeah.
it's not only the local,
Yeah, it's not just-
commercial vehicles.
Yep.
It's a lot of people. I see them every day, they just roll right on
I know.
this village, and all of them, they're all from Blockade.
Yeah, so like I said, we organize everything by village and like if it's not the traffic unit specifically, whoever's assigned here during the day, evening shift, or some of the complaints are in the middle of the night. So those officers assigned to this area will go ahead and tackle those. But obviously, things happen through the course of a shift, so they can't be out there the whole 8 hours.
No, I could fully understand.
No,
But we do get the complaints, everything's logged and tracked. And then we also reach out back to you, we'll call you, just get a better understanding of what exactly is going on. And like we have our radar trailers, I don't know if you've seen around town,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have the digital speed. So right now we have 3 of those. So we put those out, we usually keep them somewhere for a week and we keep them moving around the town. We have our signboards, which you see with the digital message, usually for the bigger events, but we'll put those around town. Usually for like each month, there's some traffic safety thing. So last month it was the seatbelts, this month it's speeding. So you'll see those around the town, it'll have some sort of speeding message. The digital ones you see that have like the little solar things.
Yeah.
We don't control those, some were purchased through the town. Other people have done it privately
Yeah,
and gone through the DPW, but they've, like on Long Beach Road, there's one, but they actually purchased that for that area. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I know specifically for the town, there's only so many that they have as well, so they can't just keep putting those everywhere.
I know this is town generated, but do you know anything about the status of the speed bumps and the stop signs we talked about for the village here?
That would be the DPW, so I don't know off the top of my head.
I can sort of answer that. Griffin Bowden is the person that was tasked with that. Just had a baby about 3 weeks ago, so he's been off for about a month. And also talked with him samples of that, so it's, I'll be talking about that, so you can't do that. It would be nice if they had it for the summer, of course, but I think it's done quickly, so I'm gonna keep on for that. And also look at the bus stops and.
Yeah, because the speed through the village is viral.
It's great.
Just-
Are they done with their, initial,
Certainly, the $600,000 review.
yeah, thank you. What did Dan say to them?
Dan sent us, we can say look into it and,
When?
he just, well, I'm on top of it, I'm trying to keep him on. But Dan is not the one that principally involved with that at the time, so, so we'll have Griffin back and talk to us. I'll talk to him personally to make sure that he's, got that, working and get a date for when that was starting.
Stacy?
It does seem like it's gonna be a little while until we get, the little speed bumps and or the signs. Is there a chance that we can have more of a police presence at certain hours every day? Because we've heard this discussion for how long now? And, whether you guys would know exactly when traffic is really bad and I mean, having a presence there could slow down some of these trucks.
Well, and then the fact you guys had the last couple of weeks, they had a cruiser packed out by where the old wool shop used to be, which is outside the village, where main speed is within the old country store and the library. And down to Fancy's, it's in the inner circle. That's the problem is.
Parker Road.
Parker Road.
If used to be part of the flagpole or the Archibald building, they used to call it that.
Yeah.
Man, you could make a lot of money.
Honestly, I've got one of the police officers that I know personally, and I used to babysit. And I'm young, I am old, and he said he has written out more tickets the past 6 months than he has in his entire career on the force. And he's been here for well over 12 years.
Speeding's out
He's
of
sick
control.
and tired of seeing everyone.
Marcus, what do you think?
Well, so I'm just not familiar with what past complaints per se may have come in, but now that we're keeping track of everything digitally and electronically. If, like I said, if you guys go to the website and just fill it out, so we can start organizing. You can even put on there specific times, or if there's a car that's like that red minivan or something is the issue, or the commercial trucks have issues, you can put that in the description. So it's easier for us, but if you know specific times, we encourage just put in area times, or if there's a specific violator that you see over and over again. And we do look at them, we get them every day, and we go out and try and tackle all these. So that'd be my suggestion for right now, because I don't know what we have and what we don't have. For specifically Osterville.
So you have 3 officers for traffic for the town,
Yes,
but that doesn't mean you're only
no, just specifically in the traffic unit.
focused on traffic. You have
Yes.
other policemen that can go on.
Yeah, I mean, a normal day, there's, like, during the day,
You
there's,
feel like you have enough staff? Just, I feel that, police presence is the #1 deterrent to speed and roll throughs and everything. These
just,
signs are,
and
you have a
the,
joke with the kids, they all race through them. As much as I want to race, crosswalks, that's not gonna stop either.
yeah,
It's police presence. And that's what stops people when they see a uniform. And those are gonna be consequence. If there's no consequence,
no, I get
right?
it, and
So maybe it's a budgeting issue, manpower allocation issue, but
it's just, we can't have someone somewhere for 8 hours at a time, because obviously there's calls to respond to, so like, yes.
Yeah.
Perfectly, you could have someone stay there all day, but we just,
not even, you.
No,
Yeah.
but there is a difference. Like,
no, I,
Position
Yeah.
strategically, an hour here, an hour there, an hour over in Centerville,
Yeah.
4 corners.
so that's what we're trying to do by moving all this
Yeah.
electronically, so that way we can keep track of it. Rather than just like
Just leaving it.
phone calls, writing stuff down, and then, it gets lost in the stack,
I
so.
went to another meeting in Centerville,
Yeah.
Sergeant Perry.
Yep.
He talked about those electronic signs, he said that they record the data correctly.
Yep, so we have,
Time and speed.
Yep.
And the volume, cars and everything.
yep, exactly,
And in some states, I guess they can actually write citations from that.
Photo
People
enforcement.
Do that.
yeah,
I'm all for that.
we don't have that here, but
Yeah, we
yeah,
should.
so when we put a trailer somewhere, it keeps track of the whole 24 hours each day. So every day it's there, it shows you the vehicle count, the average speed, the maximum speed, and the amount of vehicles per hour, and then the whole total as well. So you can see,
Allocate resources.
yes. But you'd be surprised, like some areas, some people like, oh, I swear everyone's going 50 miles per hour. And then we get the full printout after 2 weeks and say the speed limit for that area is 30. And then the average speed for the vehicle, which is they take the 85th, like 85% is usually like 32 or 33 miles per hour. But anywhere, you're gonna have people who violate, but. and so
Did you do
long as
that assessment for Lincoln Street? Because that came up at town council a while ago, remember, John?
Yes.
I
And,
would say a lot of the roads in the town of Barnstable have had the trailer there. for-
I'm curious about Lincoln Street.
We have records of everywhere it's been, so something specifically, I just have to go back to our office.
Yeah.
and find this
The only
information.
reason is, like complaints sometimes don't match up, as you're saying, with the
Yeah.
reality of the traffic situation. But I'd be really curious because that outcry about Lincoln Street was pretty strong. And, you know, we're all saying it's terrible in downtown Osterville, but I'd love to know, is it
Lincoln Road,
really?
you mean?
Huh?
Lincoln Road, you mean?
Yeah, I thought it was street, it's road.
You're talking about Hyannis next door?
Yeah, Lincoln Road, the straight, that straight.
That's always been a problem. And
Yeah.
They don't go down through there.
No, I understand,
They
and
cut through Arrowhead.
we
Because
talked
they
about
go
it
down
at,
Arrow.
we talked about it at town council at length. So it's Lincoln Road, sorry.
Yes.
So I, you know, maybe, I'd love to see some data. We're all convinced that this is a racetrack here. I'd love to see some data, about it.
I'd like to say, back to this intersection, you know, there is a lot of willful violation. But tied in with the parking problems here and for our post office that has 3 spots. You know, near the intersections, it's hashed off, yellow, you're not supposed to park, people do, vehicles are large. And, so maybe not everyone running through here, you know, 15 to 20 miles an hour, like I've seen in 6 years, 8 times. And caught myself in the crosswalk as well. I think the Department of Public Works would do well to paint stop right in front of the stop sign, like lots of states do at every one of their tens or hundreds of thousands of stop signs. So if there's a large vehicle, someone doesn't see the stop sign, they're not familiar with the area, they would see what's right in front of them in the road. So I was thinking a letter to my DPW.
I will,
Be good on that.
I will say this, some of the bad intersections like, Shoe Flying Hill Road and Great Marsh, they added the, red display, so lights are always flashing.
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just like when they get to them or if it's a, like a expense thing, but certain areas around the town, those have been installed.
Those
So,
would be tough, we have the sidewalks, because I know exactly what you mean, you come from here, or right out in front of here. If there's a van there or a truck there, or an
You can't see it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's-
see, it's not black. And a lot of people are here for the summer, now I know why they go through the summer. I thought just because they were here for the summer, they didn't have to.
I mean, to me,
But written on the road.
but a
Yeah.
4-foot stencil that says stop and you
Yeah.
break
I'm,
it, you move it on, I
I'm
mean,
sure-
that would go a long way.
I'm sure the DPW is open to suggestions.
Yes, I'm gonna write a letter, I've seen far too many, I also spend a lot of time on foot right here, so I
Yeah.
feel like, but also with my own car, it's like, okay, I almost got T-boned again, right here, it's just ridiculous.
I have a question.
I'll
Are
write that letter.
the signs that flash the speed limit, those can be privately acquired?
Yeah, so the little ones that you see on just like a normal, like where a street sign would be, and you see those, like the size is a little bit bigger than this.
Mhm.
Those ones can be privately purchased, like I know Long
And
Beach
put it
Road,
where anybody wants?
Well, yeah, it's
But
one
it's
on
not-
Rocker.
It's great, but it's not.
That's Forest Town.
it's just,
Russell complained, you got that one.
Oh, I thought Russell bought that.
more of almost like, you think that people see, you see the flashing, it'll be like a deterrent almost.
Even on water.
So
Sorry.
I would hope when people see it, they slow down, because once you hit that certain speed limit, it starts to flash,
You
so
know how
like,
much they are?
I don't know, to
8,000.
be honest.
Less than a website.
The one in front of 35 Parker Road is, that was, I was told, one of the ingredients, about $8,000, with the solar panel.
I think we should buy one and let Beth be in charge of it.
I was so tired when I was at the package store and people are flying through the GD stop sign and they don't give a, you know what? And I saw 4 accidents, almost 4 accidents.
That's stop sign, I think that's not speed per se, right? That's stop
Oh,
sign.
Well, no, they're going like a bat out of hell and they're like, I gotta stop now. I don't have to stop, I'm from New York. Whoa.
Which sign is that, by the flagpole?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, by the store.
no,
Kid Bros Square.
yeah. Right in front of the package store, in the road, policy.
Any other questions for Mike?
I would just seriously though, I strongly encourage you to do the online form. Because like I said, we keep track of all those and then we keep track of if we put a radar trail there, if it's something speeding related, or if we're sending patrol out there for enforcement, or we actually go out there and do enforcement. We keep track of all that now so we can give people feedback. So not just you send a complaint and you don't get anything.
Right.
We try and provide feedback.
Okay, so just so it's clear, you guys track the data. And then you allocate officers, cruisers to the busiest spots that the data show where they're.
Yeah, so if it's like, say between 7 and 8 PM on Weano Ave, there's cars doing the most speeding in
Yeah.
that stretch. Then that'd be a good time to go out there.
Okay.
So whatever the time might be, obviously that's plug and play, depending on the area.
You made a comment about perception of speed. What's the enforceable maximum speed limit, right? Because there's a misnomer about these 25-mile-an-hour signs. You can put all those up that you want.
Yeah,
But
so
the only,
those-
when you can write a ticket for.
those have to get approved. So you'll see some in like neighborhoods where it says 15 miles per hour.
It's not,
That's, so in Massachusetts, everywhere is 30 miles per hour unless they got approval and it's gone through the town and the DOT. And so you see some areas are main streets, 25 miles per hour.
I'm not
Like
saying.
Hyannis,
people drive fast.
Centerville.
30 is fast.
Yeah, so those went through the appropriate process to now become enforceable 25 miles per hour. But you see some neighborhoods where it says 15, like I can't go write someone a ticket for going 18 miles per hour.
Right through Main Street, Osterville, what's the speed limit there?
There's Main Street,
I don't even know.
No,
30.
I mean, that could be
It's
a,
probably 30.
yeah, if there's no,
I don't think it's.
if there's no 25 there, then it's a 30. Because it's a highly congested
30, what
area.
I'm saying is
Yeah.
30, again, crosswalk too, 30 with a big truck, seems like 60, that's right.
But there's a-
Right.
There's a process to go through to get that dropped down.
Even for school zones?
School zone's different.
Different, sure.
So
Yeah.
that's 20 when it's flashing. Those are, that's the state law there. But if you wanted 25 mile per hour area, there's just a process for that.
Is that-
So
that's
you could see
the-
signs put up.
Is it through the state or through the town?
I believe it's the town and the state, so. But usually they're gonna request some data from that area. So between us and the DPW, like the Mass DOT will want some specific numbers for that. But there is a process, so you'll see areas where it says, you know, speeds below 30. Some are actually approved, others aren't.
Any other questions? I'm sorry, go ahead, Chuck. You know what Barnstable, I think the process is that a town can adopt a 25 miles per hour in all otherwise unmarked zones, if they have, I think they have to have permission from the legislature or something, there is some process. Do you know if Barnstable has adopted the 25 mile per hour limit?
No, but I believe would you have more insight on that, maybe?
I think,
I think they're something in the thought process of
They
doing,
were thinking about it, right, John?
we haven't talked about that,
because I believe I could be wrong here. So there's the legislative approach for the town, do that.
Yeah.
And the other alternative is you go through Mass DOT, but they're gonna want the average percentage for a speed. So say a road's 30 miles per hour and the average speed
Yeah.
is not as exaggerated as you think, they're gonna say the speed limit to increase.
I think there's a statute that says 30 miles per hour, so you're right about
Yeah,
that. And then there's a regulation, that allows a town, and I don't think the town needs to go to any other step or any other level. The town can actually adopt 25 miles per hour. I think there's a state, a CMR on that, code of Massachusetts regulations.
I believe
That's above
I
you,
believe you're accurate in that, but that would be the town.
that's the town, that's outside your
Yeah.
scope. I'm just saying that.
Yes.
it's
No, I
possible
believe there's
the
the
town-
two options. That's one, the other one's going through the Mass DOT.
Right, the town could do it, I think, if the town wanted to.
But what about this gentleman's suggestion in downtown Osterville, even 25?
You could put up a sign from here, you could put up a sign for 10 miles an hour, it's just not enforceable.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't write,
You
we
can't
can't
write
write
tickets,
tickets.
but you could scare the heck out of some people if you had a speed sign that 20 miles an hour, 15, or whatever, at critical spots.
I think 25 miles an hour through downtown is fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's very quick.
it is
Yeah.
fast. Plus the road gets narrower there in front of the
Yeah.
hardware store.
Yeah, and you have
Very
the
fast.
bends and.
Plus you got parking with bigger vehicles.
Right.
There's not enough room to stick your head out or get flipped off.
It was when you.
Well, and I don't know when 25 mile an hour signs showed up out on Pond Street. There was at least 2 of them and they looked like substandard small.
If you see the little ones, you
Is this something everyone knows
can
about?
usually tell.
Purchase.
You can tell when a sign is put out there by either the town or Mass DOT, as opposed to one that is randomly purchased and put somewhere. You can usually tell the difference.
Yeah, all right, the people are aware of that. So it's 25 on Pond, 25 in the village, it's like, that's a no brainer.
Yeah.
No,
Do you have a liaison with DPW? It seems like there's a lot of lost synergy. You know,
Oh, we speak,
the show stuff about the painting,
we speak with the DPW,
mitigation.
we meet with them every Thursday.
Okay.
Yep.
So then if we say something and then, like, say, that was an excellent point. So then if we all want stop signs up here across parks, if you guys can come, you know, during the busy times, whatever, and then if you say to the DPW, can we work together on this? Can we get a stop sign for them? Can we get, I don't know, whatever. So that it makes the job easier and it makes us happy and then they don't have to work that hard.
Yeah, so I just know specifically with signage and stuff along those lines, that's specifically to the DPW.
I'm saying we need the guy who had the baby to come back to the office. Approve the speed bump, and then we're all happy.
Do you think that like?
Congratulations to him. We'll forget, we'll never forget.
We are the enforcement, they have the engineers that handle all the structures and roadways.
Chris, if someone does send a complaint to you that's not related to enforcement.
Yeah.
Do you guys forward those to the DPW? Because I can see a lot of people.
Yeah, if it's something specifically DPW related, yes.
Okay, so you are
Yeah.
sharing.
Yes, or
Like
someone,
potholes,
that's,
yeah,
yes.
that's. I
Or
bet you
someone
get a
calls
lot of
us and
On private road.
we know that they have to go to the DPW, we'll give them the number to call.
Right.
So that way they can get in touch
Yeah, that's good.
with the appropriate person. Yep.
Great information, Mark. Any other questions?
Thank you.
The website, the complaints get tracked, and we will reach out to you and go over a plan of action and results, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Have a good night.
We don't lose a lot of roll through that meeting.
What a nice young He's a nice young man.
He is a nice one.
Yes.
Like, I wouldn't even mind getting a ticket. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
I make a suggestion, we all go to that website and
Yeah.
start loading it up.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's what works. You know,
I think Marcus will figure that out.
But
Maybe we put a traffic section on the new website.
section, different part of the road, you know.
John,
The new website.
do you think you could talk to the town about what that gentleman said about maybe stop in front of the stop? I mean, that's, it seems like an inexpensive
Really a couple places.
stop, yeah, it's got some stopgap measure.
I just want to cautionary is that, I don't know if that's town approved, or legal in this town versus that. It's a great idea, when you start going to these people, I said, well, there's 15 things you gotta do that, or that's only allowed in New Hampshire versus here, we can't do it. And that's why, like, going to Griffin Bowden was, you know, the big.
Yeah.
We talked about this at the beginning of the year, we talked about East Bay Road, sidewalks, or make it one way, one lane. These are things they take period of time to go through the steps to determine whether this is something that is viable and will work out and be safe. So all these are great ideas. We go there and it's not as simple as just saying, ask them. It's a great idea. So,
how long have these ideas been floating around?
a lot of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like,
2005.
for example,
It's you, Ruthie.
for example, you know, we need speed bumps here. They're gonna give us 4, because we did, that's what they decided. You know how much speed bump costs?
160.
$170,000.
That's just the payment, right? No, it's not engineering, that's not free.
That's, it's like, it's asphalt and, you know, it's just ridiculous, but we live in a state where you've got to do everything right, you've got to have, you know, prevailing wage, and everything is 4 times what you think. Right. So that's part of the problem also.
That's great.
Yeah.
I can do that for $1,000.
But first you gotta give us 600,000 so we can do a study on it.
Yeah.
In Florida, I went to a problem like this, and they really I sell a lot of $100 tickets. And if you get one of those, and if they did that here, you'd solve the problem really, really quick. You put out $2,000 worth of products, 20 people, get $100.
We get those speed bumps.
So.
Yes, it is.
Your uniform, Peter.
How much is
It depends on how fast you go.
Also, if you get a couple, your insurance goes up for like 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Any other public comment?
Could I just,
Yes, I'm sorry.
oh, okay, I just wanted to mention that, SGD, Safe Greater Deuces Beach is holding a community meeting on Wednesday, June 11th, right here at 5 o'clock until 6:30, and it's going to be an update from our perspective about what's going on with the proposed cable landings here in, at Deuces Beach and at Craigville Beach. So I really hope people consider coming, because we have a lot of good and new information. We're still fighting, so, the fight is getting bigger and bigger, it seems, every day. So thank you for letting. What's, yeah, it's, June 11th, which is Wednesday at 5 PM, right here. Cindy's very happy about it. She'll be staying. But, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Yeah, thank you, Pete.
Anyone else, public comment?
Just wanted to let everybody know that, Troop 52 from Gatuit took care of all the flags.
Oh,
Memorial Day weekend up at, Hillside Cemetery, and Rick Wrightson actually showed up and helped us out, as a former veteran, and, we also do Mosswood Cemetery, do it every year on Saturday morning. And, that's a 22-acre cemetery. It's the
Wow.
largest
That's
in the town of Barnstable, so, we're trying to teach, young boys how important things like this are, so that hopefully they'll do it with their kids someday too, so. John sent out an email looking for help to make sure that Hillside Cemetery veterans were recognized on the weekend, and I was happy to do it. Thank you. I want to, thank you for doing that. I got an email, I can't remember from who, that was in one cemetery that wasn't done. And Bruce stepped right up, first one I thought of, with the Boy Scouts, and really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Happy to do it.
I just want to mention, I did speak to Mark Ellis this morning about, this has nothing to do with traffic, but it's the trucks, the Jake breaks. I said, what do we have to do to get a sign that says no Jake breaks in center town or by the post office?
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone else noticed it, but I mean, it's deafening when they.
It's very loud.
do it. And, he said, we can do a sign, but he said it's hard to enforce it. But he said, if you know of a particular trucks that are doing it, give him a call. He said, I'll make a call. I told him, I said, one of them is Chris Joyce's, because they've got two big trucks that make awful noises. He says, I'll give him a call. He said, just rather than putting up a sign, just tell them it's annoying to the businesses.
Yeah.
And, so if you see trucks doing that and you see who they belong to.
Yeah.
He said, just Max, just give him a call. He said, I'll make a call to him.
Good point, Joe. Big breaks, the power break, the big truck. But you can down
No.
Making noise.
Anyone else for comment? Make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.